Welcome back to the show. Hello, everybody. Dana, what is going on over there?
You're not drinking Diet Coke. I don't understand. What is that?
I know so it's a little bit different today. I am drinking a very lovely tea
Oh.
from my travels to Japan.
Oh, okay.
But today felt like a warm drink day.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But why? Okay, can we talk about the hyper? Ooh, we were just saying not to use that word. No.
Yep.
I was talking. I have a mad love of drinks. Why? I don't know. So here I've got tea, right? Okay, this is all on my desk. All on my desk. Okay.
Yeah.
So there we go. And then here, I've got ice water, right?
Yep.
Here I've got my carafe to replenish my warm water, because today is a warm water day.
Cool.
But this has ice in it, so this is for cold times. Mm-hmm. And I know it's not. I mean, it's ridiculous. And this is my day. I just love drinking. I have a drinking problem, Dana.
Segue into the topic of we were thinking hyperthinking, overthinking. Those are both value judgments. So rapid thinking. And I was like, what you see above the water line for an iceberg, and then under here is all of the neurodivergent thinking. And I've seen memes where the neurodivergent urge to have, and they'll have a picture of someone sitting at their desk and they have water and they have soda and they have coffee, and they like to have at minimum 2 drinks, which I have, and usually more. But it's also my mind was just going I asked you why no Diet Coke, and why shouldn't I have a Diet Coke? What's behind that? What's is she sick?
Right.
Is she drinking tea? Why is she drinking tea? Is it caffeinated? Is it uncaffeinated? Is she trying to quit caffeine? That would be bad. What all of that just sort of running in the background
immediately,
right? At any point in time. And I think that has a lot to do with the drink thing. I think we want to be ready for options. It's like that, because it's like that rapid thinking. Like when I was getting the dog ready to be up here in the office with me for the first time ever, I got 2 different kinds of bones, and I got a couple toys of hers that don't squeak, because that would be bad if we were taping an episode.
Nice thinking ahead, Dana.
It was all of this. Be ready. And this is why I also think that you tend towards neurodivergence, because you think that way. But it's also this constant running of, I see all these decision trees, or just one path leads to another thought, and then once that thought's at the end, it goes back to the original thought, and then you see how many more branches come off of that. That is so seminal to neurodivergent thinking. And I never see that anywhere in any of these, DSM or ICD descriptions of neurodivergence ever anywhere. And to me, that if I had to describe what it's like to be a neurodivergent person, that would probably be the number one thing. If I could only say one thing about neurodivergence, that would be it.
Yeah, I would agree. Because I think especially when we're considering a diagnosis in adulthood, right? Outside of childhood, in adulthood, when a practitioner or a clinician sits and listens to the lived experience of this person, I think thematically, again, the thread that I see as well, Dana, I will echo what you're saying, is a certain way of thinking that is fast, exhaustive, robust, and it's it's in a blink, and I will say, or just the way in which I might deeply think about even one topic, and that one topic, I exhaust that topic, and maybe that's one topic at a time, maybe that's multiple topics at a time, whatever this is. I would agree that, and I would say the other running thread would be a sensory experience. That is,
to me, that almost is a sensory thing. It's like cognitive, sensory,
nice
stimming, or absolutely,
thought stimming. We talked about thought stimming.
That sense. And you bring up a really good delineation too, because when kids are not fully formed yet, you can certainly see them having these thoughts if you haven't talked them out loud. But more often than not, you're looking at behavior, right? And by the time someone's an adult, they maybe have suppressed a lot of behaviors that are viewable. And this is what I get a lot from my clients who have been to previous therapists is they get pegged as, I love the words you were really deliberate about picking your words to be not judgmental, because I'll hear things like, you go on too many tangents, you lose track of what you're talking about. What's the point? Get to the point, hurry up and get to the point. And it's really all of what's out there is going to get to the point. In my mind, it flushes out the idea more because you're listening to all of that, right?
Oh, 100%.
The way I do assessment with adults is I tell them I'll have some loose structure. Like I want to, if you start talking about how many brothers and sisters you have, I'm going to ask about your family tree and all that. But for the most part, I want you to come into the assessment letting those tangents happen, because me as a neurodivergent person, A, I can follow them, B, I can tolerate them, and C, usually they lead to something really good. And they do usually have an overall theme that I can grab onto and know what they're talking about. That said, my process is not linear with them, a neurodivergent to a neurodivergent. And so one of the things I build in is after I write the report, we meet, and if there's anything that I got wrong or missed or isn't correct, we take that part very seriously, because I do let some of those tangents go. And sometimes I just miss a little nugget here or there. Things like, oh yeah, you switched in 8th grade to private school from public school, and I want to make sure that's right in there. But for the most part, a neurodivergent way of thinking along those lines, especially if you're expressing it verbally, neurotypicals don't like that typically. They get impatient and they're like, what is your point? And you're like, I actually do have a point, right? Why do we love watching the same shows over and over besides like a stimming and comfort thing, but like sucking the marrow out of something? I want to see all those layers in there, right? So when I was watching that Moon Knight, and I watched it, the whole series 3 times, little bits I was getting here and there that I hadn't picked up the first time. And it's like, oh, this is so awesome, because you're noticing those things. I drive my wife crazy when we watch a movie that has a mystery plot to it, because I almost always know what's going to happen. Because that's happening in my brain. It's constantly, what if this, what if this, what if this? So it could be. And she'll be like, how did you even come up with that? I'm like, well, remember that one thing in the movie where they showed that person in a payphone? Why would you show someone in a payphone unless it were part
that's foreshadowing?
Totally, yeah. And so that's because of that, all that stuff in there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh, Dana, that's so funny.
Yeah. That said, that can make your life difficult if you have someone that can't deal with that, or a therapist that won't listen to you, or you have limited time to get to a point, right? I see my neurodivergent students suffer a lot when they have to do things like write a paper or a dissertation, because they're like, where do I stop? And I'm like, yes, the pain is real. You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
So then the task becomes putting some structure on it, so they don't have to do all that. And we cut it in half and say, I know you want to go over here, but don't.
Yeah.
Stay over here. But that's, I see a lot of misfit between neurotypical and neurodivergent just because of that sort of hyperdrive. Not a good word, but I'm thinking hyperdrive like in Star Wars. Take it to hyperdrive.
Right.
Lightspeed, I guess. It's like lightspeed thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just really funny because the same thing happens in my family where I'm like, oh, so-and-so did it. And they're like, shut up, like, get out of here. We just started. And sure enough, like, or I'll predict dialogue.
Oh,
I love lyrics and I love dialogue. And so I'll like just predict, I'll just say what they're going to say before they say it. And literally my family's like, what is the matter with you? Like, why do you do this? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just the way my brain thinks. Something that I do with my clients. Well, and I find
too, probably because you're constantly thinking about.
I know I'm always thinking this way. Something that I see with some of my clients, and this is where this kind of light speed thinking, let's call it light speed thinking, even though in light speed things there's some things you can't do. I mean, mind you, you're in that black space. Okay, nope. See, that's another tangent. We won't go there.
There it is, right there.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
But is that they have a difficult time with effective communication.
Yeah.
Because they've got to go through their process.
Yeah.
And what they need or want is lost along the way, right?
Yeah.
And it is connected. So you know what I do with probably, I mean, a very large amount of my clients, especially because we're meeting remotely. And I would do this in person, but I used to do this in person, but remotely, I map out what they're saying. So
Yeah, so you can
as they're
help track
talking,
it. Yeah, yeah.
I'm like just putting down pictures or words, and I'm making arrows and I'm doing these connections. And then we look at it together, and then I just reflect one unmet need.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we talk about what an effective communication request is of a person or whatever, or I just
Like, you can
reflect like what they were
theme in
thinking.
what they're talking about. You can help them
Yeah.
figure out the theme in that
Yeah.
by looking at it all. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it allows me also to get it right. You know, it's like, no, that's not, no, Gwen, no, that's not it. Okay, let's fix it.
Yeah,
Let's fix
yeah,
it. Like, fix it to what it's supposed to be. And I think like
yeah.
for many that that struggle with communication, and we've really covered how difficult communication can be.
Oh, yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
not just saying verbal communicate. I'm just saying all to
yeah.
communicate how you're thinking and feeling effectively,
Right,
whether that's in whatever means you want to think about.
right, right.
That is something that when we don't help people make sense
Yeah.
of their light speed thinking and how it impacts them
Yep.
in their advocacy or their self-determination,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is where we get anxious and
Yeah,
depressed
that's right.
and angry and resentful at the world
Yep.
because I have all these thoughts. And by the way, when you interrupt me, like I don't want to be interrupted and I got to get it all out because if I don't get it all out, I'm going to forget it.
I'm going to forget it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing. And so having this space to be able to have the light speed thoughts.
Yeah,
and,
my wife has had to understand, like, if I precede something with, "Oh, I wonder if," to me, because of my blunt conversation style too, it can feel like I'm judging something. And for some reason, this just popped in my head. When we've gone to Helena, where she's from, and there's this wonderful candy place that's been there forever called the Parrot Confectionery. And her parents knew the owners and all that. So one time we were able to go in the back door and we went through the kitchen and we could see like them making stuff, which was so cool.
Gosh.
Which mostly my brain was just like, this is the cool. I'm like in an episode of Charlie and talked about it. It's so cool.
Yes.
But the first one of the things I said out loud is, I wonder if they get in trouble with the health department for letting people traipse through here. And that could be seen as I'm judging the parrot, right? And then this was 15 years ago. My wife looked at me like, and I was like, oh no, I love it here. It's great that they do that, but that can be that ripe for misunderstanding. Now she would just know it's like one of the things that I'm thinking, knowing there's probably 60 other that, including like, well, I know in the back of my mind, I've learned that if you were to plunge your finger into that boiling sugar, it wouldn't be good. But part of me is wondering, would that really, I mean, these crazy thoughts, right? How long do you have to let something cool before you can eat it when it's super hot? Like I want to just pelt them with questions because it was so interesting. But that one that came out that I actually voiced, if that was the only thought I was having, you could see where that would sound kind of witchy, like what's her problem, right? So I think that happens a lot too, is to sort of, again, educating people in your life that those are I wonder ifs, right? I'll do this during sports a lot. I wonder if about a player or whatever. And we've had to figure out a rapport with the two of us that normally my wife just totally, she's like, yeah, whatever. Lets me say those things, and sometimes engages, sometimes doesn't. But if she's at a place where she really just wants to watch the game, she'll say something like, I really just want to watch the game. And she doesn't mean that as, shut up, Dana. She means it as, I'm in a place where I'm not aligned with your wonderings. And would you mind? And to me, I'm like, now I can say that, I can take that in as, oh, yeah, you're just not in that space. Early in our relationship, I took that as, oh, something's wrong with me. See, there it is. I got a mask that better. And that's all those subtleties of communication with people misunderstanding. It's so ripe, I think, because of that sort of uber thinking and how much is behind every single thought. It can also be super exhausting for somebody. If that's on all the time, how do you turn it off? For me, it was great in grad school because we know to learn something, the more angles you look at something, the more you flush it out, the more apt you are to remember it and understand it. And I did that with everything. People wouldn't understand, like, we did that once in lecture. How did you remember all that? How do you remember that all those years later? And I could look at them and say, how do you not remember that? because I probably have this whole story for that thing built, and it's just in there, right? Which is
Yep.
great. I've taken advantage of, and that was for topics that were interesting to me. A chemistry class that I had to take, nothing got in. It wasn't interesting to me. I'm not going to expound upon that. My undergrad forced us to take a Bible study class. I could go into all kinds of trauma for me personally about that, but I didn't expound on those stories. So it really does have to be something that like you're interested in, that's in your wheelhouse, that you really care about, right? And yeah, that's during movies. I just started watching, as a client recommended this to me, Killing Eve, which isn't even being aired anymore, but and it's a like murder mystery stuff. And she thinks that way. You can see her. What if it's this? What if it's this? What if this? And it's not surprisingly, it's a neurodivergent client who recommended it to me, saying, "Oh, I see neurodivergence in all the people in there." And I'm like, there it is. And she gets crap for it at the beginning. The authorities are like, "Why do you think these things? It's, we have this nice, neat little package for this murder. Stop." And she's like, "No, it could be blah, 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 blah." And there's a lot of society that doesn't want things to expand in those ways. They would rather have it kind of wrapped up, right?
Do you feel, Dana, I mean, because there's a balance here, right? Like, I think about what critical thinking is, and that we want to encourage people to be critical thinkers. We try to empower and teach our youth to be critical thinkers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And, in some, like, what is critical thinking? It's maybe seeing something from different points of view and how it might impact you and the grander community around you, like these kinds of questions, which, I don't see a ton of online, but, we hope that that's happening. And then on this kind of light speed thinking, this is where I also see anxiety and social anxiety, the what ifs. What if X, Y, Z, A, B, C, double A, Roman numeral X1? Like, I mean, like, it's like, how many ways can I see this when it's like, stop.
Yeah.
Now it's time to stop, because where you're going is what you have no control over. So like therapeutically, we try to help clients focus on what they can control and let go of the things that they can't. But that for them, it's like, but I have to think about the things that I can't control so that I can make a decision about what I can control. And here we go, right? And so how do we find this balance? And maybe the question is, when is it enough?
Like, that's the thing. Yeah, I was thinking about when I was a little kid and had that thinking, didn't know what was going on. I didn't do well in school because of it. I just found I was distracting myself, I think. Yeah. Once I got old enough that it became critical thinking and I could frame it that way, I'm like, rather than just the random anxiety thinking, it's more like, let's get in there and just articulate that. And then, having enough experience of, okay, I worried about X, Y, and Z with that social thing. That's never really borne out. I can put that in the third tier back and not worry about it as much and just worry about this thing. And that we're teaching our clients to do that some, because I don't think it's intuitively given to us growing up the way we do. Yeah. I think about kids in like gifted classes. I think they're getting that critical thinking, or that tangential thinking, if you will. They're being given kudos for it. Whereas in a mainstream classroom, maybe not. It's just seen as like disruptive, but it's really the same thing. And so how you're framing it and how you're using it, I think, become just really important. Like you mentioned with critical thinking, it really frames it differently. Yeah.
Yeah. And that hopefully you have put yourself in a place where the way in which you think is a real strength in the work that you decide to do, or the place of significance that you find yourself in the world,
but it can
that's
drive
when
you
we're
crazy.
the happiest.
Yeah.
I know. Like, if it's not in service of it, imagine trying to harness, like pull back the reins on that all the time. I mean, talk about psychological masking. It's like, like I really need to change the way I innately think about the world. Like, no, like you are in the wrong place if that's the case, right? Like, how do we find the right place where the fit, for you? So
impulsive. Like I was labeled impulsive a lot as a kid because I had to figure out what to say, when to say it, how to say it, with my family. But at the same time, I could also stick with something in a single-minded way and do it. Like, I've taught myself how to ride a unicycle when I was a kid. No one's help.
Fun fact about Dana.
Yeah. What other kid would do that over a period of like a week and not give up? It's that same sort of singularity of, what if I do it this way? What if I do it that way? That also can serve you. So it's how it's seen, and then helping yourself see those aspects of yourself. Those are the things that keep me up at night. If my brain is going, I can't sleep. So that can be a negative edge to it. But learning how to know that's part of your brain and how to live with it becomes a lot of what we do in therapy too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, on that note, wow. Just kind of thinking about, there's so many things I'm thinking about, but we don't have time for it. We don't have time for it. We'll just have to bring it up in the next episode.
That's right. Yeah, I have to, Dina, before we log off though, let me introduce the audience.
Oh, because the audience they haven't met Charlie.
Oh, sure.
Oh, you just get ready for cuteness overload, people.
Oh my God, there she is.
Look at
Charlie. Charlie's a Maltipoo. She's 7 months old. Little over 7 months
Look at Charlie. I'm so sorry for those of you that are only listening, because the visual treat that you're missing is so sad to me. This dog, oh my!
She's like a little Ewok. We call her Sasquatch, but we now call her Baby Squatch because she's just got little short legs.
Can you dress her up as an Ewok for Halloween?
Yeah, I think that we have to do that.
Dana, I think that would be. I'm gonna need a video or a photo of that situation. Costume, what do you got in the comments? What do you think Charlie should dress up for Halloween? Yes. And what do you think Stanley should?
Yeah.
I just want to remind everybody that Stanley is a proper English dog.
Yes.
So let's not have anything like, he's
got to let's keep that theme. He's got to have that theme. Yeah. And for those that are interested, of course, because I'm an obsessed dog mom, as we are, she has her own Instagram channel, and it's Charlie EY_the_Maltipoo on Instagram, and it's a public opened if you'd like to follow Charlie's adventures on Instagram.
Oh my Charlie, I mean, what a life you've come into.
Yeah, exactly. They're great.
Lucky dog. Literally lucky dog. Now we always know when people say lucky dog, you're like,
there you go.
We know. We know.
All right, thanks everybody.
All right. Well, how did we say we're signing off because we don't see people? What did we say, Dana?
You'll see us on the next episode. Maybe we do like that astronauts used to do when they go around the dark side of the moon. They'd say, see you on the flip side. We could say, see you on the flip side. But then I feel like I have to do this thing with my hand, like, see you on the flip side. Yeah. We'll see you later.
I'm going to let Dana close us up. All right. All right, everyone.
Bye, everybody.